Today, you are in for a treat. I am talking with seven-figure business owner Holly Haynes about her CEO week method. We are talking about how we structure our week. What kind of theme days do we use? What is her secret to creating a seven-figure business? She shares what it is in our conversation. And throughout our conversation, I am feeling so motivated, inspired, realizing where I've let something slide in my own business. So we talk a little bit about that as well. A quick update before we get into this week's episode. I wanted to let you know that since I started podcast pitching my visibility focus the beginning of this year, I have been able to have conversations with 35 podcast hosts and be a guest on 35 different shows. And from those shows, I have gotten new listeners to my podcast. I've gotten new customers. I've gotten new clients and made the most amazing connections. And the coolest thing about it is it's all organized. Nothing falls through the cracks. I have learned and tweaked and created a system, a workflow, and a way to organize all of it. And I've mentioned this before, but I want you, if you want to do this, to go check out my podcast dashboard and workshop where I show you exactly how to do it. I teach you how, and then I give you all the things, including a custom GPT who helps you in the process and my podcast dashboard that keeps it all organized. And I've just also added to that podcast dashboard the page that helps me make sure that I promote people's podcasts that I've been on. And so I was struggling with keeping track of whose show I've been on and all of that. And I created a page in there that also organizes that. So if you think this would help you in your business, then go get the podcast dashboard and workshop at simplysquaredaway.com/pod. Now, let's hear from Holly Haynes. Are you ready to work less, feel more organized and productive, streamline repetitive tasks, and implement systems that allow your coaching business to run smoothly even without you? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Organized Coach Podcast, your go-to source for practical tips and solutions. I'm your host, Tracy Hoth, professional organizer, certified life coach, simplifying expert, and most of all, down-to-earth fellow coach just like you. No matter if you think you're missing the organizing gene, have ADHD, or just love anything organizing, I'm here to help you become an organized coach with a business that works for you. Pull up a seat and let's get started. I am so excited to have Holly Haynes on the podcast. Holly, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I have been just admiring your most beautiful website ever. Every time I go on there, I'm like, oh, I love that page. It's so
Thank
beautiful.
you.
So I want to dive in, talk about your CEO framework, because I always talk about CEO mindset and business owner and organized CEO. So this will be fun, and how you've built your seven-figure business and systems and theme days. So talk about all the things.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you're known for is your CEO week framework. So just tell me about the origin story, kind of how you developed that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like most things, it was like very organic and kind of came out of necessity. And that was because I always say I started my business when I was a little bit older. I just turned 46. I started my business when I was 41. So I was in a phase of life where I had a pretty, I would say, demanding corporate career. I was working for the C-suite, and I had twin daughters at the time who were in kindergarten, and we were about to hit the pandemic. So if you could just like picture all of that, there's not a lot of time to also build a business. I also grew up in a family where entrepreneurship was really not talked about. I mean, I joke that like when I went to college, entrepreneurship was not a major, like the word, just, I don't know, nobody talked about it. It was not a thing. And so I really didn't know a lot about it. And the reason I shared that is it was a big jump for me to go from thinking about, can I even do this? Or is this something that's even possible? One, because I just wasn't surrounded by it. And two, because I had very little time. We're talking like maybe an hour a day. The second piece of this is I couldn't grow and scale the way that most business coaches at the time were talking because I couldn't really talk about my business online because of my job. And so I had to come up with a way where one, I wasn't necessarily using social media, but two, a schedule where I wasn't going to like drive myself into the ground and actually see some progress. And so I was like, okay, I love organization. I think that's where you and I like connected. Like I could talk about color coding and lists and planners and all the things for like hours. And I was like, there has to be a way that I can just create this repeatable system because I know that works. What I was like helping my Fortune 500 clients do, where I could show up every day and not have to really think about what I needed to do. So it's kind of like that getting out of that like decision fatigue. Like the example that I give is like a lot of people will say, I love a capsule wardrobe because I don't have to think about what I'm wearing.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, okay, I know that I only have an hour a day to work on my business. So I want to wake up and use that hour to actually work on it instead of figuring out what to do. So that's kind of where the framework came from. Like it really was out of necessity of like, I've got to figure out a formula that I can just like plug and play and follow.
Oh my goodness. So it's like a magic formula because
It is a magic formula.
In 5 years, you've built your business to where it is today. Like that is crazy.
It is very crazy.
So tell me all the details.
Yeah. So I'll give you the formula first. And so the first sort of teaching point is I always hear I don't have enough time. And so for me, I had to just kind of reframe that and think, okay, if I could work an hour a day, that's 418 hours a year. Like that is a lot. Like you could do a lot in 400 plus hours. And that's assuming just 1 hour a day. Like sometimes you might have more than an hour. So I broke up my week using the following formula. So Monday through Friday, I just had an hour a day and I would figure out what that was. And then Saturday mornings, because you know, you're working full time, you have kids, I would get up from, let's just say 6 to 8. It doesn't have to be this time. And I would have what I call a creative session. I believe that in order to grow, you need solid blocks of time that are not in 20-minute increments. And so I think it's really important that, yes, you can do things in an hour or half hour, wherever, but at least once a week, you've got to have this, like, I just called it a creative block, where I had like a longer period of time to just go deeper into what I was working on. So I typically did that on Saturday mornings. And then on Sundays, I would plan for, it usually took me 30 minutes, but I would give myself an hour. So I would have like planning on Sunday. So if you add that up, that's 8 hours a week. And then what I would do is create themes based on the projects that I'm working on, which is where I think if people are learning from you, they can totally create theme days based on what they're trying to do or complete.
Right.
And so my first theme day would be on Mondays. And for the most part, as a business owner, you need to create content. And so I would have a content day on Monday as an example. It would be an hour and I would just get as much done as I could as it related to content. I then had like a list. And so if it's Thursday and I'm like, oh man, I thought of this content idea, or I need to do this with content, I would just put it in the content list and then I would just revisit it the next Monday. So you can think of theme days that work, you know, based on whatever you're working on. I typically have 1 or 2 content days as an example. If you're newer in business, or let's say you do want to have a website or update your website, we know that websites take a long time to update and it's just like never ending project. So as an example, you might want to have like a website day on Wednesday. Maybe you have a community day where you're connecting or podcast pitching or talking to local business owners. I would have a client day because I would try to batch all my client calls on one day or one morning or one evening. And so I use this same formula to this day for my themes. And I know when I wake up, like today's Wednesday has been podcast day for 5 years. I know that I have to get up, I'm getting dressed, I'm putting my brand colors on. I cannot not, I don't know, I probably want to have makeup and brush my hair. Like I don't want to look like a homeless person. And so it just helps me think through, okay, like this is what I need to get done today. And then you can switch out your theme days based on what you have going on. So if you like want to get more into Pinterest, like maybe you have a Pinterest day. And it just, to me, it like took the pressure off because I would think about all these other topics like every second, like we do as business owners. But I would just have buckets where I would write them down and then I would know, okay, when Wednesday comes, it's podcast day and I'm going to do everything I can in the time that I have on Wednesday as it's related to podcasting. And then I'm going to let it go until next week.
Okay, so I have all this resistance coming up inside of me.
Yeah.
So let's talk through some of that because my other question is like, when you are helping people implement this, what significant or what are the most popular challenges that they have in implementing something like this? And we can go there. But my first thing is like, okay, 1 hour content. Like, so I'm thinking, even if it's a post, man, how much can you get done in an hour? Or recording, if you don't have a team, how do you implement that? Like, I don't feel like I could get much done. And
content is a great example. I recommend at the beginning to have 2 content days because content is like the lifeblood of your business and it does take a minute. But what I recommend to my clients, because I've heard this question before, is use your first couple of content days to get some systems in place. So as an example, our podcast is the like starting point of all of our content. So I have systems in place, like a flow chart of like once the podcast episode is done, then it gets repurposed into all this different content. I have the tools in place and then I have templates in place. So if you look at like our Instagram as an example, you'll see the same covers. They've been repeated for like 2 years. I don't think I've updated them for a minute. And I know that like I can take my transcript from the podcast and turn it into different types of posts. So I would use your content day to get organized with your content first and then create the content. So it's almost like you got to kind of like what you teach, like you've got to sort of like sort through and get organized first and then actually do the creation.
Yeah. And I think about that for me. I have now my podcast down. I mean, I still don't, well, I guess I do have some people that are helping with that, but I have the theme or the process down. And so it does make me happy, but that's taken a long time. And now with AI, it's, oh my gosh, it's so good. And the process is so clean and organized. So that's so true to keep that really organized.
Yeah.
What else? Okay, there's something else. Oh, for me, as I'm thinking of my own calendar, I do think that I have allowed calls to be on other days.
Yeah. And that's one thing you take away. It is a like game changer.
Yes. So I really need to put client calls on 2 days of the week. Now, because this is what's happening. You have like 20 minutes in between a call or an hour in between a call.
Yeah, you can't really do anything during that time.
That's so true. Okay.
Or you need a break. Yeah. So like I will schedule a lot of times people are like, Holly, your podcast calendar is full. And I'm like, yep, it is. And I'm like very protective of it because I know like I can do 2, 3, 4 interviews in one day. But I'm not doing anything else. Like all I'm doing is podcasting. And when I have those like little breaks in between, it's like, okay, well, I'm in podcast mode. So then maybe I'm like cleaning up show notes or looking at the different templates, or if you have a team, talking to your team, but everything is podcast related. But like yesterday, as an example, was a content day for me. And so I was like deep into Chat GPT and like reviewing sales pages and like I was in it. But today, if I like did a podcast interview and then switched to reviewing a sales page, like my brain is just like, oh God, I can't like, and it's, the work is just different types of work. And so the context switching makes it harder. And so in the 1 hour is the minimum, right? So you can do more if you want. It just kind of depends on your business and your schedule. I also block out Fridays for no meetings. And sometimes they like creep in, but I call it a CEO day, but having a day or an hour, whatever your time frame is, where you have nothing on the calendar is just magical. And it helps you when you are doing things in smaller chunks to know that if your schedule gets completely derailed, that you're like, okay, well, Friday morning from 9 to 10, I don't have anything and I can catch up.
Yeah. Well, that comes up too for me. Well, first, keeping those boundaries. So that's going to be my action step is to
Mhm.
go back and like set up some boundaries because I've kind of been letting it slide into. I used to have Monday and Friday completely free. And now
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that person can't. Like, oh, that, I'll do that on for them on Friday, which
Yeah.
I think I'm noticing is my main problem right here.
Yeah. I do the same thing. And I mean, I feel like it's normal. Like you're a real human, but then it like catches up with you. And then you
Yes.
don't have that time to sort of recharge. And so the theme days like really helped me just like keep my boundaries,
Yeah.
especially when I was still working full time because my schedule was like so much more compressed.
Yeah. So how this is just in my brain. When you get to
Yeah.
like Friday morning and it's your CEO day, a lot of times I end up feeling like I need to clean stuff up. Like I need to get my
Mhm.
notes that I've scribbled all over like cleaned up first. And then that ends up taking so much time. So how do you structure just the CEO day part of it?
Yeah. So I like to think of CEO day as you being the visionary and not the integrator. So I will ask myself, like, if my CEO day is me working on a funnel or something, it's like, Holly, this is maybe not the right thing to do right now. And CEO day could literally be an hour. So if I knew that like I want to be the visionary of my business, I want to like take it up and look at the big picture, like is the task that I'm doing that right now. And again, it could be a half hour, it could be an hour, and then you could totally go clean or organize or whatever. But I think it's important to even just ask yourself a question. So you're in like your CEO hour, and it's like, okay, well, how is this week going? Like, where am I at with my quarterly goals, or where am I at with my monthly goals? And it's sort of like, acting as like the president or the CEO of your business, just putting that hat on for a minute. Cause I think, and I even said this yesterday to a friend, I was like, man, I've been so in the weeds. Like, I'm worried about tags for emails and like what time they're going out. And it's like, at some point, you have to like lift it up a level
Yeah.
and say, like, okay, is like, are things going in the path that we think that they should be?
Okay. That's good. I like having prompts to start your
Mhm.
time block. That's such a great idea. Like powerful questions to ask
Mhm.
yourself to get started in that space. The other thing that's coming up is, and this is, I don't know, probably the most common question is when you're on a time block and you're, I don't know, doing something and it takes way longer. You had a tech issue and you had to shut down your
Mhm.
computer or you had to go figure something out and be on support for something.
Mhm.
And then the next day comes with your new theme, but you literally have to get that task done because it has a deadline. And
Yeah.
so that takes up the next day, which then you don't get that day done. Like,
Yeah.
how do you handle that?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's two sort of gaps in the framework, and that is you do have that CEO time frame. So if you do have a deadline and you are acting as a CEO, you're like, okay, guess what? Like nothing else matters right now because I have to get this done. So you could potentially use that time. And then also that sort of, creative time that I said that I blocked out on Saturday mornings. That's usually my bucket for if like crap just hits the fan for the week and I never expected that to happen. That's usually where I'll fix it, is in that time frame. It's not, I mean, it's not perfect, like nothing goes as planned 100%, but
Not beautiful.
I do, yeah, I feel like those
Yeah.
sort of give you a minute to catch up. And then the other thing that I do just from like a personal standpoint is I do time block like every single second of my day, which people roll their eyes about. But I'm like, if I don't write down, take a shower, like you forget that like it takes a minute to do that. And so I will write like wake up, take a shower, record podcast, break, and I will give myself for the most part an hour to do every single task. I know, like as an example, we booked 2 hours for
Yeah.
this. It's not going to take us 2 hours, but I always give myself more time than I think so that if something does happen, then you can catch up.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, any other challenges you see students have when they're implementing this?
So I think people overthink it and they immediately go to like, well, this won't work for me. And so my number one piece of advice is just pick a theme for today. Like, what's your theme for today? And again, I'm picking themes that are business related. It could, because I do have other things going on from like a personal standpoint. So if you've ever read the book, like The One Thing, it's kind of what's my one focus today? Is my one focus podcast recording? Is my one focus like organizing my folders? Is my one focus I have to create Canva templates for my Instagram? So it's kind of like think of your theme as like your one focus for the day. But I feel like it takes the stress off because when you go to bed tonight, you're going to know what tomorrow's theme is and you're not going to be like, oh, I have so much to do and I don't know where to start. Like it helps give you a starting point.
Yeah. It makes me think I just did a podcast episode about, I mean, it's like that, except as you're maybe moving into this structure and getting your calendar cleaned up, like me,
Yeah.
you can even write it on a Post-it note. What is my one thing? And it could be per hour. It could be like your theme for the hour to get started moving in that direction. Okay.
And you can make it more complicated. Like you could pick 2 themes a day if you want. But I really love to pick one because again, using the example of like creating content uses a certain part of your brain. Speaking on a podcast uses another part. And it's nice to have them separated to then know that you've got this extra space to recover from.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that switching tasks that for me right now, I'm noticing like, oh my gosh, that is taking up so much energy to switch tasks around. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about your business. And oh my goodness, 5 years. So what's necessary to make that happen? Like, I feel like you might be a special unicorn.
I don't know. I don't think I'm a unicorn, but I will say it's not a secret sauce. I'm super consistent. I am like the most consistent person on the planet. I have followed my theme days for 5 years. Even when we're on vacation, I like will think of a theme of like, this is what we're doing. It helps me just stay on track. And I'm really consistent when it comes to just like business boundaries as well. So I know like my non-negotiables are I have a podcast go out every week and I have an email go out every week. And I've stuck to that, like even in the craziest times, because I know that's like the lifeblood of community and bringing people in and client attraction and sort of all of that. And so I would say consistency.
And we all can do that.
It's not hard. It just, sometimes it's not easy.
I love that example.
Yeah.
Okay. How much, like, I mean, I don't know, how many hours do you work to make this happen? And then how much of it is like, what's the progression of adding team to be able to work less to make this happen? Like, can someone really build a 7-figure business working 10 hours a week? Or do they have helping them in that?
I mean, I do have a team and I can share who they are. For the first year, it was me, but I was not making 7 figures the first year. So I have been out of my corporate job since 2022. So it took me 2 years to replace my corporate salary-ish. I was close when I left. And then when I left, I feel like it opened the door, which is so crazy that happens. My very first hire was a VA, and she's still with me today. And her main role was content repurposing so that my content days could be shorter and she could help me repurpose content. So I think that's a really great hire because to me, content is like the lifeblood of your business and it, builds relationships and all those things. And then my second hire was a podcast editor. Because again, that takes a lot of time and that frees up my podcasting days to actually have conversations instead of using the time to edit. So they're both still on my team now. I then hired a team to help me with my website because these are tasks that like I could do, but not my favorite to do. And so they help me behind the scenes, like just update pages and things like that. So those are like my core team. And then I have a copywriter that helps me with all the projects that we have behind the scenes. But it was a very slow sort of role. And I was super strategic of what's taking the most time for me that I can then free that up so that I can create more things like what our product suite looks like today.
Yeah. I like how you said that with you did that and you hired someone. So now that on your schedule shrinks down. So
Mm-hmm.
it's cool to think about that for all of us listening, that we can think about that in our own schedule. What is taking a long time and how can we shrink that so that we can work on other things?
Yeah, I mean, my main goal is I did not leave my corporate job to sit in front of my computer all day. Like, even if I could do it in my sweatpants, like, I don't want to. And so it's like I have strategically thought about who can help me. I don't know if you've read the book Who Not How. Who can help me do things that I'm doing better? Like, I want them to be the expert in copywriting or website or content repurposing instead of me. And so that's sort of how we've hired. But I mean, at the beginning for 2.5 years, like all I had was 8 to 10 hours a week. Like there was no other option.
Yeah.
I would say now I probably average, it depends on what we're doing. I try to take every Friday with no meetings. So I don't usually work on Fridays. I block out the last week of the month. So I try to just have like white space at the end of the month, which if you should just try it. It's magical. And then from a planning perspective, as a family, we take a trip once a quarter. So those are like my bookmarks for like how much I work and when I work, because I have these like boundaries in place that I work around.
Oh, I like that, bookmarks.
Mm-hmm.
Bookmarks. That's a cool way to think about it too.
Yeah. So like someday, like we're leaving for a trip tomorrow. So like this week has been like a little busier, but I know like next week and the week after, I have nothing on my calendar. So it just, it kind of depends on the season.
Yeah. I think I'm noticing in myself that it's a mindset thing. Like, is that possible?
Yeah.
How is that possible? So it's interesting as I listen. It's becoming more and more possible. And ooh, there's an answer. Like, ooh, I could try that,
Yeah.
So.
I read a quote somewhere that like, if your business feels boring, it means you're doing the right thing. Because it's fun to create new things and do new things. And I love to create new things, but like, we really don't need to. Like, we can just keep going. And maybe we're like tweaking it or we're adding things in, but we don't always have to be like, oh, I need this like 17 new freebies. Like, what if you just had one that worked really well? And so that's what I've been trying to lean into, like the simplicity of how like our systems and team works behind the scenes.
That's what my bookkeeper and his friend that owns YNAB, a bookkeeping thing.
Yeah.
They talk about that and they're like, it needs to be boring. You need to say the same thing 8,000 times,
Yeah, and you do get tired of it. Like, I was like, man, does anyone want to hear about CEO week again? But then when I talk about it, like I still use it and then I get excited about it. And so, yeah, but I mean, we've had the same framework for 5 years now.
Yeah. And for me too, I don't guess I haven't gotten sick yet. I haven't been doing this for 17
Yeah.
years. Like I haven't gotten sick of talking about organizing yet. So maybe that is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you're excited about it, then 100%.
Anything else like systems? What systems do you think you've integrated maybe like in your daily routine to manage time effectively or even family? Any little tips you have there?
So I typically will plan my day like the day before. So I have like, I call it like a closing routine. So when I finish my last meeting or activity for the day, I'll look at my calendar for the next day and I will like block it out. So I know what's coming, like what time do I need to get up? Like what's our morning look like? Who's doing bus duty? Like all the things. So I know the night before that I'm pretty consistent with that. I always plan for the week ahead on Sunday and think about, we actually do it as a family and we have like a conversation about this is what's going on this week. We have a chalkboard in our kitchen that has like schedules going on. And I used to just put like the kids' schedule on it, but now I'll put like little snippets of my schedule or my husband's schedule so that they know, like they're old enough where they know what's happening. And that's been really fun because I feel like it's not like compartmentalized, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like just one big flow. So that's been really helpful. And then systems in our business, I don't know. I follow the same routine like every single week. It's like create the podcast, repurpose it, send the emails. Like it's the same process every single week.
Yeah. Oh, you sound like such a planner. And I mean, I probably am too. And people listen to me and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're a planner. But it's so fun talking through it and thinking, oh, I need to spruce up this part of my planning process, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I just try to keep it repeatable and simple would be my advice.
Yeah. So is there one step, and maybe you already said this, but is there one step if someone wants to implement this, what would you recommend they do to
In terms
start?
of CEO week?
Yeah.
Well, there's two steps actually. So the first thing that I would do is just map out how much time you have to, I'm assuming that you're thinking about your business or some project, like how much time do you have to dedicate to that a week? So is it 5 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours? And then sort of just think about like, where would that fall in terms of the formula? And again, the formula is, I say a minimum an hour a day. And then you need to have that creative session where you've got like a little bit of a longer block and you can sort of pick what works for you. And then I do have a free 5-day challenge where it like walks you through how to pick your themes and how to do your schedule. And it's just hollymariehaynes.com/CEO week. And it literally takes you through each day. Like how much time do you have? What themes make the most sense? And then I give you example themes that you can apply.
Ooh, good. That's your freebie. That's like
Yeah.
works nonstop.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, just for fun, is there a tool or an app that you can't live without in your business? Let's do business first, and then if you want to give a home
Okay.
one, you could.
In business, it's probably Slack because I like Slack better than Boxer or some of the other tools because you can schedule messages. So like we run a lot of our community groups in there and I can schedule messages ahead of time and it transcribes things. And so I hate when you get like a voice message and you have no idea what it is. And so I like that you can transcribe it.
And yeah, it does that automatically, doesn't it? Show the
Yeah.
start of their message.
Yeah. Yeah. So like our teams on Slack, but our Slack and our group programs are on Slack and you can turn it off. So I don't get it on my phone and I open it up like once, twice a day and then I don't look at it.
Of course, you have all these amazing boundaries that you put in place. Okay, anything that you delegate that saves you the most time? We kind of talked about in your business as far as
Yeah.
thing.
Probably podcast editing from a business perspective. It's just super technical and I feel like you have to really know what you're doing to do it. There's really cool apps that can do it for you now, but I feel like that has helped a lot.
Okay, my resistance there, because I still edit my own podcast, is I record, if it's a solo episode, so messy because I don't outline, like I don't script it or I barely have an outline and then I just want to talk, but then I mess up a lot or I have to look at stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if someone had to edit that, it's almost embarrassing. So then I think, oh, maybe I should.
I mean, it saves me hours of time because they will edit it, they upload it, they add the pre-roll and the post-roll and the music and the show notes. We have a YouTube channel. They do all of that. Like, I don't even touch that.
That would be so.
It's very magical, actually.
Yes. Okay. And then are you guys a game playing family? Do you play games? What do you do for fun?
My girls are really into, well, we just got Wicked Monopoly, which is pretty fun. And then whenever we travel, we always take Uno with us. Like, it's just super fun. It's super basic. But so we're not like a fancy game family. We're more of like a classic game family.
Monopoly and Uno.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But everyone likes it. So it's good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy.
Okay. So we can find your freebie or your 5-day challenge for the CEO week on your website. Anything else? What do you offer to help people?
Yeah. So I have different offerings based on what level of business that you're in. So we have a membership, which gives you sort of any system or routine that you could think of. I call it like the MBA of business strategy. And then I also have a program. It's our signature program called Antisocial School. And it is basically my framework for how I was able to grow and scale without relying on social media because I was working full time and couldn't really share what I was doing. and what that looks like. And then we also have a program called the Collective Co-op, and it's a mastermind type program, but it gives you access to our team. And so I've tried to create a community and a strategic program where you get like one-on-one coaching with me. So I help you map out your 90-day plan every quarter. But then also I give you my team to help you implement what we talked about.
Ooh, so good. And all that's on your website, hollymariehaynes.com?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here. I already know some action steps I'm going to take.
It's fun. I appreciate it. Here are your theme days. So if you're listening and you implement CEO Week, tell me your theme days. Tell me how it worked. And it's so fun to see people use the framework.
Yeah. Thanks, Holly.
Thank you.
Wait, if you're finding this podcast useful, you must check out the Organized Coach Academy. It's my course where I walk you through every step to get your business organized, to get yourself organized, to save money and time, to prepare to hire someone, to do all the things that you want to do in your business with ease. Check that out at simplysquaredaway.com/OCA. Also, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but I would love it. It's my way of knowing that you're enjoying the podcast if you leave a written review. I have lots of freebies for you. They're linked in the show notes. You can find them in my bio on Instagram at Tracy Hoth. And until next week, have a beautiful day.